Have a good day, children. I hope you are all good and safe. Today, our lesson is History 4 Intellectual Awakening and Socio-Political Changes. Intellectual is nothing but highly developed. We will see about now the introduction. A great intellectual awakening was seen globally in the 6th century BC in northern India. In this period of major political and social changes in North India, Buddha and Mahavira were born. Following their death, Buddhism and Jainism took root as major religions in India. Zoroastrianism in Persia and Confucianism and Taoism in China became popular during this period. Religion in the 6th century BC. The new civilizations that emerged in the new Iron Age. About this time, we find that a number of prominent men, great thinkers and founders of new religions lived, making it a period of great historical importance. Philosophical and religious thinkers such as Confucius in China, Zoroaster in Iran and Mahavira and Buddha in India gained popularity in 6th century BC. Confucianism and Taoism. In the 6th century BC, two great thinkers were born in China, Confucius and Lao Tse. They laid down the systems of morals and social behavior for individuals and communities. But after their death, temples were built in their memory and the philosophy they taught was developed into a religion. Confucius. Confucius was born in the Shantung province of China in 551 BC. He studied history, poetry, philosophy, and music. 5 cardinal principles of Confucius ethics. Humanness, that is a kind or mercy. Righteousness, that is goodness or justifiable. Propriety, that is behavior. Wisdom is meaning being knowledge or giving good judgment. Trustworthiness, that is honest or truthful. Confucius said that wisdom grows from the family. The superior man, according to him, is not merely intelligent or scholarly, but his character should be exemplary. The superior man of Confucius possesses 3 virtues: intelligence, courage, and goodwill. Goodwill means being helpful. Next one we will see about Taoism. The greatest of the pre-Confucian philosophers was 53 years older than Confucius. Lao Tse was born in 604 BC. Disgusted with the intrigues of politicians and the prevailing corruption of his time, he left China to live in a peaceful abode. Lao Tse wrote a book, Tao Te Ching, is a guide to the conduct of life. He then disappeared from the place and no one knew where he died. Tse, that is Taoism. The cause of human unhappiness in the world is human selfishness. Selfishness creates unlimited human desires which can never be satisfied. In nature, all the things act in a natural way. The law of human conduct must correspond with nature. Humans live a life under the regulation of someone. This is because they have acquired knowledge and have not remained innocent. On the basis of their acquired knowledge, they have built up an urban civilization and have made themselves unhappy. Next one we will see about Zoroastrianism. Zoroastrianism is one of the oldest of the revealed world religions. Zoroaster of Persia is the founder of Zoroastrianism. The holy book Zoroastrianism is the one of the oldest of the revealed world religions. Zoroaster was pained to find his people worshipping primitive deities. He revolted against it and proclaimed to the world that there is one God, Ahura Mazda, that is the Lord of light. Ahura Mazda is omniscient, that is knows everything, omnipotent, all powerful, and omnipresent, is everywhere. The holy book of Zoroastrians is Zend Avesta. It is a collection of sacred literature of different periods. Teachings. Zoroaster taught that the great object of religion, state, or society is the cultivation of morality. He asserted that Ahura Mazda has 7 qualities. First one is light, then divine, right, dominion, piety. Piety means devotion. Then well-being and immortality. Mortality means live forever or eternal life. Fire was worshipped as a symbol of the deity and considered the highest form of worship. Impact of iron technology in India. Early education happened in 2 ways. One was as a result of some villages specializing in blacksmithy, pottery, carpentry, cloth weaving, and the other was on account of the congregation of specialized craftsmen in villages close to where the raw materials were available and where markets were present. Such a concentration enabled villages to evolve into towns and exchange centers. Then religion, post-Rigvedic. 3 more Vedas, Yajur, Sama and Atharvana, already you know about that, were composed after the Rig Veda. Manuals of rituals called Brahmanas, specifying rhyming words to be sung, and 2 commentaries on certain Rigvedic hymns called Aranyakas, containing knowledge to be learnt secretly in the forest, and Upanishads were compiled in the upper Gangetic plain. Next one is Jainism and Buddhism. The founders of Jainism and Buddhism did not prescribe killing as a religious rite. Mahavira lived a life of purity and exemplified simplicity and self-denial. They lived in the times of Bimbisara and Ajatasattu, the famous kings of Magadha. The people's resentment about the expensive and elaborate Vedic rituals, sacrifice, and the desire for wealth eventually took them towards Jainism and Buddhism. Jainism, we'll see about Mahavira. Already you know about him. Birth. Vardhamana Mahavira was born at Kundagrama near Vaishali. His mother was Trishala, a Lichavi princess. He spent his early life as a prince and was married to a princess named Yashoda. The couple had a daughter. At the age of 30, he left his home and became an ascetic. For over 12 years, Mahavira wandered from place to place, subjecting himself to severe penance and self-mortification, that is, a discipline. In the 13th year of his asceticism, he acquired the highest knowledge and came to be known as Jaina, that is, conqueror, and Mahavira. Tirthankaras. Jains believe Mahavira came in a long line of Tirthankaras and he was the 24th and the last of them. Rishabha was the first Tirthankara and Parshvanath the penultimate or the 23rd. Mahavira travelled extensively as a preacher in the kingdoms of Magadha, Veda and Anga. Magadha, Videha and Anga. Rulers Bimbisara and Ajatasattu were influenced by his teachings. Thousands of people became his followers. After 30 years of Mahavira died at Pavaburi in 527 BC at the age of 72. What is the teachings of Mahavira? The three principles of Jainism, also known as three Ratnas, are the following: right faith, right knowledge, right action. Right faith, that is believe in the teachings and wisdom of Mahavira. Right knowledge, that is acceptance of the theory that there is no God exists without a creator. Right action, that is it refers to the Mahavira's observance of the five great vows. First one is ahimsa, honesty, kindness, truthfulness, and not coveting or desiring things belonging to others. Spread of Jainism. In order to spread his new faith, Mahavira founded monasteries. The Jaina monks who led a very austere life. In North India, this new faith was patronized by rulers such as Dhanananda, Chandragupta Maurya and Kharavela. There was a notable followers of Jainism in Karnataka and Western India during the 4th century BC. Jainism encouraged the public spirit among all who embraced it. Varna system practiced by Brahmanas was challenged. Were spared from the costly and elaborate rituals and sacrifices. Mahavira believed that all objects, both animate and inanimate. Animate means bring to life, inanimate means not alive, have souls and various degrees of consciousness. They possess life and feel pain when they are injured. Split in Jainism and decline of Jainism. Jainism split into two branches, namely the Digambaras, that is sky-clad without dress, and the Svetambaras, white-clad, that is they wear white colored dress. Decline of Jainism. The lack of royal patronage, its severity, functionalism, and spread of Buddhism led to the decline of Jainism. Next, we will see about Buddhism. Already you know about him, Gautama Buddha, isn't it? So Gautama Buddha was the son of Suddhodana. His given name was Siddhartha. As he belonged to the Sakya clan, he was also known as Sakya Muni. He was born in 567 BC in Lumbini Garden near Kapilavastu. His mother, Maya Devi, died after a few days of his birth, and he was brought up by his stepmother. In order to divert his attention towards his father, got him married at the age of 16 to the called Yashodhara. He led a happy married life for some time and had a son by name Rahula. Four great sights. Evening, while Siddhartha was passing through the city, he came across an old man who had been abandoned by his relatives, a sick man crying with pain, and a dead body surrounded by weeping relatives. These four great sights prompted him to renounce the world and search for the answer. So he left his palace and went to the forest in search of. In the wanderings, he sat under a peepal for several days until he attained enlightenment. The place where he attained enlightenment, the Mahabodhi temple, still exists in Bodh Gaya, that is in Bihar. After his enlightenment, Buddha decided to impart his knowledge to the people. He went to Varanasi and gave his first sermon at Saranath. He preached in the kingdoms of Magadha and Kosala. A large number of people became his followers, including his own family. Teachings of Buddhism. Four great truths. Then attainment of Nirvana, the noble eightfold path. Okay, what is the four great truths? That is, there is suffering and sorrow in this world. The cause of human suffering is desire and craving. This pain or sorrow can be removed by suppressing desire and craving. This is to be achieved by leading a disciplined life. Attainment of nirvana. According to Buddha, a person should aim at attainment of nirvana or the highest bliss. Bliss means a great joy. Attainment of highest great joy. That is nirvana. And it could be achieved by any person by leading a virtuous life. Virtuous life means moral life. And by following the Noble Eightfold Path. The Noble Eightfold Path is Buddha preached a new path to attain the purest state of mind. First one is right views, right aspirations. Aspirations means hope. Right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right contemplation or meditation. Buddha preached that he who practices the Eightfold Path can attain the highest and purest state of mind. Spread of Buddhism. Buddha, in order to carry his message to different parts of India, established the Buddhist Sangha or the holy order monks. The bhikshus means monks, and the bhikshunis, nuns, were enlisted for spreading the faith, and they were required to lead a life of purity and poverty. Buddhism spread to Central Asia, Sri Lanka, Tibet, Southeast Asia, as well as the eastern countries of China, Mongolia, Korea, Japan, and Vietnam. Split in Buddhism. During the reign of Kanishka, the Buddhist monk Nagarjuna initiated reforms in the way Buddhism was being followed. Buddhism was split into two as Hinayana and Mahayana. Hinayana, that is lesser vehicle. This was the original creed preached by Buddha. The followers of this form regarded Buddha as their guru and did not worship him as God. They denied idol worship and continued with the people's language Pali. Mahayana, the greater vehicle. Buddha was worshipped as God and Bodhisattva as his previous avatar. The followers made images and statues of Buddha and Bodhisattva and offered prayers and recited hymns, that is mantras, in their praise. Later they wrote their various books in Sanskrit. The decline of Buddhism. Buddhism declined in India due to the following reasons. First one is reasons. First one is Buddhism was popular in the beginning because it was preached in people, that is in Pali language. The later texts were written in Sanskrit, so which was difficult for the common people to understand. Second reason is the split in Buddhism into another vital reason. Image worship in Mahayana made no difference between Hinduism and Buddhism. Third reason is Buddhism lost its royal patronage during the region of Guptas. Fourth reason is further the invasions of Huns and Turks almost wiped out Buddhism. Next one is we will see about Ajvika, other heterodox sect. The period that produced Buddhism and Jainism also witnessed the birth of a sect known as Ajvika. Its founder was Gosala, full name of Maskariputra Gosala. He is a friend of Mahavira. For some time they were together. Later, Gosala moved away and founded the Ajvika sect as an atheistic sect. Ajvikas rejected the karma theory, which postulated that the condition of men is determined by their past actions. Ajvikas had a small presence in southern India. Under the Cholas, a special tax was levied on them. Three Tamil texts, the Manimekalai of Buddhists, the Nilakesi of Jains, and the Sivanyana Siddhiyar of Saivisis, contained the outlines of Ajvika doctrine. Next one, Gana Sanghas. There were two distinct forms of government at the time of Mahavira and Buddha. One is monarchical kingdom and the clan oligarchs or Gana Sanghas. The Gana Sanghas provided a polity alternative to the kingdoms. Vedic rituals and the rules of Varna were not followed. The Gana Sanghas had only two strata, the Kshatriya Rajakula ruling families and the Dasa Karmakara, the slaves and the laborers. Next one is the rise of kingdoms. The 6th century BC witnessed the establishment of kingdoms, oligarchies and chiefdoms as well as the emergence of towns. 16 Mahajanapadas are listed in the Buddhist texts. Linguistic and cultural commonality prevailed in the Janapadas, whereas in the Mahajanapadas. Janapadas and Mahajanapadas already you learned in 6th not 7th standard, I think. Different social and cultural groups lived. With the emergence of kingdoms, the struggle for supremacy among different states occurred frequently. The growth of royal power. The king enjoyed absolute power. The Sabha of the Rigvedic period ceased to exist. The king sought the aid and support of the Samiti on matters like war, peace, and fiscal policies. However, in spite of the existence of the assemblies, the power of the king kept increasing. The growth of royal power was reflected in the enlarged administrative structure. The king was now assisted by a group of officers. In the later Vedic period, Gramani, who acted both a civil and military officer, was the link through which the royal authority was enforced in the village. In the villages, Gramyavadin, that is a village judge, and Sabha, that is court, decided taxes. Punishments for crimes were severe. The rise of Magadha kingdom. Kingdoms operated with a centralized government. Political power was concentrated in the ruling family. There were advisory bodies such as Parishad, that is ministers, and Sabha, advisory council. The Sabha collected the revenue and remitted it to the treasury in the capital of the kingdom, from where it was distributed for the public expenses such as maintenance of army and salaries to state officials. Of the kingdoms mentioned in the literature of the period, Kasi, Kosala and Magadha are considered to be powerful. The Magadha kingdom emerged victorious. The Bimbisara was the first important king of Magadha. Bimbisara succeeded in establishing a comprehensive structure of administration. Village was the basic unit of his administrative system. Apart from villages, that is gramas, there were fields and pastures as well as wasteland and the forests, Aranya, Ketra and Vana. Each village was brought under a Gramani, that is headman, who was responsible for collecting taxes and remitting them to the state treasury. Officers appointed to measure the land under cultivation and assess the value of crop were to assist the Gramani in his task. Land tax, that is Bali, was the main source of revenue to the kingdom, and the share of the produce, that is Baha, was determined proportionate to the extent of land cultivated. Ajatashatru, the son of Bimbisara, is said to have murdered his father and ascended the throne. He continued his father's policy of expansion through military conquests. The capital city of Magadha was Rajagraha, which was surrounded by 5 hills, providing protection to the kingdom from external threats. Ajatashatru strengthened the Rajagraha fort and also built another fort at Padali Grama on the Ganges. Ajatashatru died in 461 BC and he was succeeded by 5 kings. All of them followed the example of Ajatashatru by ascending the throne by killing their parent. Fed up with such recurring instances, People of Magadha appointed the last ruler's viceroy Sisunaga as the king. After ruling nearly for half a century, the Sisunaga dynasty lost the kingdom to Mahabhatmananda, who founded the Nanda dynasty. Mauryan Empire, State and Society. Mauryan kings. Vishnugupta, who was later known as Chanakya or Kautilya, fought with the Nanda king and vowed to dethrone him. Chandragupta, perhaps inspired by Alexander of Macedonia, was raising an army and looking for opportunities to establish a kingdom of his own. Then he and his allies marched to Padaliputra and defeated the Nanda king. Thus began the reign of the Mauryan dynasty. Chandragupta, now become an ardent follower of Jainism, abdicated his throne in favor of his son Bindusara. Bindusara during his rule succeeded in extending the Mauryan Empire up to Karnataka. Ashoka succeeded Bindusara. Ashoka waged a war against Kalinga in the 8th year of his reign. The people of Kalinga fought bravely, but they were defeated after a large-scale slaughter. This war and slaughter affected Ashoka so much that he decided to give up war. Ashoka became an ardent Buddhist after meeting the Buddhist monk Upagupta and propounded his dharma. Ashoka's passion for protecting life extended to animals as well. Hospitals were constructed for them and animal sacrifice was forbidden. Ashoka sent his son Mahendra and his daughter Sangamitra to Ceylon to spread his message of Dharma there. Ashoka died after ruling for 38 years. Our national emblem with 4 lions, you saw, isn't it? Always we are seeing. Our national emblem with 4 lions is a replica of the Ashoka pillar of Sarnath. Mauryan administration and educational centers. The Mauryan state in its early years undertook some measures that were positive for the development of society. The king, as the head of the administration, was assisted by a council of ministers. Educational centers offered Buddhist and Vedic literature, logic, grammar, medicine, philosophy and astronomy. Even the science of war was taught. Nalanda became the most renowned seat of learning in course of time. It was supported by the revenues of 100 villages. No fees were charged to the students and they were provided free board and lodging. Thank you, ma. You learned properly. Take care.